Let's go ahead and hop into our next series of the day. It's going to be between Bly and Boyo. It's going to be a Protoss vs. Zerg. And now we're going to head on over to another map we haven't seen all day, Andre. It's actually a map that I like. It's Metropolis.
Metropolis.
And I'm not saying I don't like Daybreak, but I've actually grown fond of maps like Metropolis, even though I know you don't like it, Andre. But I think it has a lot of cool mid to late game battles, and I've already explained this. But I know you don't like it, Andre, and a lot of people have honestly been siding with me. People kind of hop on the bandwagon and say like, yeah, Metropolis is a cool map. But why don't you like this map?
It's too big, and I feel like there's so many ways that, especially Terrans, can get super far ahead. Protosses can do things, of course, with the power of Warp Gate that no other race can. I feel like Zerg is really stranded on this map. Even though people say, oh yeah, Zergs love this map because it's nice and big, it's too big. And Zergs get to a point where, you know, they rely on that mass army, they rely on having those waves of units, but when it comes down to it, their big armies aren't as efficient as the other two races. And what ends up happening is they commit so much to this particular attack, and they're absolutely dead. Like, they have no follow-up whatsoever, and it's really unfortunate. I just feel like overall, this map is heavily imbalanced. Once you give this map like an infinite amount of time for all the races to actually find out what to do, Zergs will have like a 30% win rate, I bet.
Well, with that in mind, let's go ahead and introduce our players, starting in the mid-right. We have a red Protoss player. His name is Boyo. It's a player that Andre actually really wanted to cast for tonight, so all credit goes to him.
Boyo is a 15-year-old Grandmaster Protoss.
Yeah.
And
really young guy, kind of like Xenocider, really young.
You know, in MLG, I remember talking to LZ Gamer, and I was like, LZ Gamer, how you doing? He's like, I did terrible. I was like, wow, what happened? You lost? I'm like, I'm sorry. He goes, yeah. And he's like, I lost to this really, really young kid. His name's Boyo. Who the heck is this guy? And this is when Boyo really wasn't too popular. But then, like, ever since then, he kind of, I wouldn't say exploded, but he got a lot more notoriety just because of how young he was and how skilled he was as a player. I really, really like it. He actually gave me the idea. Wait, what the heck's going on with this, Bly? Anyway, he gave me the idea of when you're up against mutas, and you're going something like Sentry Stalker, and you have a ton of sentries out on the field still, and you're being caught off guard, you hallucinate warp gates. Or, not warp gates, you hallucinate phoenixes. And the phoenixes will actually tank the damage because they prioritize the phoenixes first. And that way you just have this extra HP in your army.
Kind of cool, but
what the heck is going on?
Let's talk a little bit about the other player that we're supposed to introduce as well. His name is Bly, and he's trying to deal with the probe that gets in and now scouts everything, and it's a fast layer.
Yes, sir. And Creep is going to pop out pretty soon.
Oh, he's going to try to do a Spine Crawler push.
Crawler. This should die really easily. All Boyo has to do is make like 10 cannons right here. If he makes 10 cannons, he wins the game. If he doesn't make 10 cannons, he loses the game.
Well, we'll find out what happens in a couple of seconds. The first Spine Crawlers are dropping immediately, and Bly is going hard in the paint. 4 Spine Crawlers, and really committing to this, and he's getting Zergling speed as well. Trying to potentially set up an opening for his Zerglings to run by, and now the Zealot pops out and really has to control space. Excellent job from both players to really show restraint and be able to measure this out.
Cancel that core. Ugh.
And now he's going to have core. But he's getting Hallucination to potentially tank the damage, but doesn't have a Sentry on the way. Did he mean to get Warp Gate? Did he mean to get Warp Gate?
I don't know what it is. I don't agree with that, though.
I think he may have meant to get Warp Gate instead. This is going to be very, very, very tough now that Boyo doesn't have a lot of cannons.
Yeah, I think Boyo actually loses here.
Wow.
At least he's going to lose.
Wow, and we see a Baneling Nest also on the way from Bly, so he's going to go ahead and follow us up with lots of Banelings and just go straight for the middle line and destroy a bunch of buildings, hit the pawns where it hurts. And then we see a Stargate coming out from Boyo, but realistically, will he have the time to even really get out enough units? Sure, Void Rays can attack all the units all they want, but there's no base to follow up on.
Correct. And on top of that, he doesn't have any more units for a long time. His Gateway is gone. His Forge is dead. So that's a lot of stuff. And yes, oh no, he got Hallucination. I don't know why he got Hallucination, but here we go. Now going to crash into the natural. Boyo is most certainly dead.
Oh, but he does manage to keep one of his cans alive with the 4 spine crawlers, man. I mean, he's just going to be able to keep him up. And now he can have his Zerglings come in, add a lot of DPS, targeting down the pylon as well. A great move from Bly. You can tell that he's been playing this from the very start. And now he's joining up because he realizes at this point, Boyo's lost a lot. Now, I mean, Bly's invested an incredible amount, but as long as he takes out things like this Nexus, the Cybernetics Core, it's going to set back Boyo so much. And he just has to protect himself from the Void Ray, and Bly will be incredibly ahead.
Yeah, but the power of those Zerglings and Spine Crawlers at this point is enough to actually surge up into the ramp. And because that Photon Cannon, you know, is so close to that edge, which of course he didn't know at the time, but this Void Ray is actually going to force Bly to act. He's not going to go backwards. He's going to keep going forwards, knowing that he can actually take out this single Photon Cannon. And look at this. Boyo's doing the correct thing, trying to block off as best as possible. The Void Ray is going to town. Is it going to be enough? It's going to be hard to tell.
Well, for now, I mean, Bly's done such a pretty good job of sniping everything.
Good
And
job,
Boyo does stabilize.
Yes, he does.
And, well, Bly will lose these 2 Overlords, setting him back very much so. Both players are supply blocked.
They're both supply locked on 27, too. How sick is that, right?
That's so funny. You can see that immediately Bly starts a Hydraless Den, really wants to get himself some safety against the Void Ray, but realistically, Boyo is just, he lost a lot. I mean, Bly did invest a lot as well, and his drone count is very, very poor. But I would say that Bly's position is very good, granted of how much tech he's developed compared to his opponent.
Yep, and I like this choice. A lot of people would say, oh, go Phoenixes, and then you'll be able to destroy every single one of these queens. The fact of the matter is it's very difficult for Zergs to get anti-air. And what are they going to get? They're going to get Hydras, they're going to get Queens, they're going to get Spore Crawlers. Probably not Hydras. Hydras are not what we normally see. But if they do, it's still a win-win because Hydras do not scale well into the later game stages, especially on a map like Metropolis that's so huge. So take advantage of that. Either force out Hydras or a ton of Spores and Queens. And you need at least three Spores to block one of your hatcheries so that it's okay. That's why I think just emphasizing the Void Rays is the correct decision. And Boyo, you need to be careful! Boyo, gonna lose the Void Ray!
But Void Ray for a Queen is not necessarily...
No bueno.
Yeah,
no.
That's not what you want to do. It's good for Bly, but... Now he's got 2 hatcheries, and I actually didn't notice this, but Bly was operating off of no Queen for a very long time to get that rush underway. So that's why his production's been kind of loose. Even though Boyo does have a worker advantage, he's pretty much been relegated to 1 base, and he's going to try to set up an expansion, but Zerglings are waiting once again. So Boyo, because he hasn't been able to use his Void Rays to clean up the things back at home.
Oh, wow. Nice cancel. Those Zerglings are going to spring to action once again, but we have to be careful here. Phoenix is definitely not going to be able to take down any of those Overlords. But very weird game that we have starting off here on Metropolis.
So weird. It's 11.5 minutes. Warp Gate just finished. And we have Zerg just on a saturated as natural. And it's one of these weird things where it's just neither player... I mean, I'm assuming Bly's way more comfortable, but this is like so unusual to what you're used to in the PvZ. You're used to the, well, by now you should be having immortal timing hitting your expansions at your 3rd, and you're like worried whether or not you can survive that.
Yeah. I don't think you have to really worry about immortal timing in this game. But I do like where Boyo is going with this. He is just really focusing on getting the best army composition, knowing his opponent really doesn't have the capabilities to do that. On top of that, his opponent doesn't have a lot of gas to work with, and Boyo is going to see every single thing that Bly does. So I actually put Boyo ahead for the future, but of course I would say Bly is ahead right now. But I think Boyo will be able to make better calls. That's the main thing I'm looking at.
Well, decision making is very key from this point on, especially when you're in a situation where you're not used to and you're not comfortable. For now, though, worker count is really going to start favoring start to favor Bly. That is because he's able to really pump out saturation very quickly. Starting to really stay on Hydras, though, and not really stray from it whatsoever. First Colossus is on the way for Bly, and now it gets to the point where, yeah, sure, you can have Hydras and the ability to hold off Stargate, but realistically, if I get a couple Colossus down and just keep force fielding, your Hydras won't be able to do anything. And, you know, Bly has to be kind of cautious because Hydras are they're such a alluring unit because they have so much DPS, and you feel like if you use them correctly, you'll be like, yes, I'm the Zerg player that'll be able to use Hydras correctly. That's always what every Zerg believes before their downfall, if he gets bad engagement.
I've watched way too many games to think otherwise. Look at this, hallucinated Warp Prism actually coming in here. Very, very tricky. He was trying to obviously make his opponent play a lot more defensive, but there were no Overlords over there to actually catch that, so unfortunate for Boyo. But a nice attempted effort. But yeah, Boyo, he has the better army composition. Still Hydra Zergling. Wow.
With Infestors and the Spire.
Boyo can actually crush his opponent once he gets his second Colossus. That's so sick.
One thing that will come to play is the upgrades. The Hydra's DPS increases very well against things like Zealot, Sentry, but again, that Colossus going to matter so much in the fight, just like you said.
I would love to see Boyo just attack. That would be the sickest thing in the world. I would lose it if he actually attacks off of 2 Colossus. I'm going to actually lose it.
Well,
I'm going to lose it.
2 Colossus and 2 gates. He's adding on up with another gate. He's indicating he wants to expand yet again. Bly's 3rd expansion finally finishes, and now he's starting to get like a really, really nice drone count on 3 bases. Already in the mid-60s while getting up tech, so Boyo's giving all the time in the world to Bly to power up and really make an intimidating Zerg army.
But he didn't scout the 3rd base. TT, Boyo.
He didn't scout the 3rd base?
Boyo didn't know.
Wow, he had hallucinated Phoenixes patrolling everywhere.
And he didn't scout the 3rd.
He scouted the Infestation Pit and the Spire, so he knows about those things, but... Boyo does have that window, and he's not being able to take that. That's always like one of the saddest things, because we see everything, but Boyo obviously is like, I just survived a Zergling Spinecrawler attack.
Actually, he might take it. He's going up to 6 gateways. He might take it. He might take it. He might take it.
Oh, you're right. He's going to fake this expansion because he stopped making probes.
Oh, baby.
And he stopped at 47, so this is a very huge attack that Boyo's planning.
He's getting a Warp Prism, a real Warp Prism, chrono boosting on his gateways. Oh, baby, oh, baby. So everything from here on out should be Stalkers defending your Colossus as best as possible. Hive Tech is on the way. That's not going to help against any form of this type of aggression. Boyo is in a fantastic position where he can actually just slaughter his opponent.
Bly is trusting his opponent a little bit too much. Oh, but he's going to send a Zergling.
Yeah,
this is big.
This is big.
Oh, and then Boyo's like, oh, well, obviously I meant to do that. And the Zergling's like, well, no, you didn't. And now Boyo's like, okay, well, I guess the jig is up, and he's going to start moving out immediately. Now, Boyo does have 3 Colossus, which is basically enough to virtually snipe the Hydras instantly. 4 Corruptors are out as well, and he's going to get Infestors out with Pathogen Glands. So this is a pretty intimidating army for Bly if he was facing something that was not Colossus-based. You know, the idea is the Colossus was to roast every single thing that has low hit points almost immediately. Now, Bly is also trying to buy time. He's going to try to see if he can stall enough for his Spinecrawlers to finish, but realistically, this is just such an intimidating push from Boyo. And he's got all the tools he needs to make it successful.
Just make sure you protect your Stalkers, you protect your Colossus, and you will be able to deal with this. Let's see how it works out right now. Nice force fields are going to go down.
Yes.
And you can see the Zerglings are just struggling in. Great fungals.
Good fungal on the Sentry count to really try to whittle down the ability to force field. So Bly trying to do everything. He's targeting on the Colossus. Second Colossus drop, and there's still a significant amount of Hydras. And the Spinecrawlers are about to finish as well. Boyo losing almost all the supply. And all of a sudden, Bly with great micro catches everything. GG.
Wow, Boyo did not protect this Colossus. He could have won right there. There's no reason why you keep those Stalkers like that. This is what you do. You attack move, okay? You have your Sentries, of course, force healing.
This is what you do as Protoss. Attack move.
Attack move, okay? You have your force healed up, and then all you're doing is microing your Stalkers and your Colossus. If those die, you're dead. You know that. But the Stalkers are actually attacking the Zerglings, the Hydras, the Spinecrawlers. No, those are all free units for the Colossus to gobble up. Boyo,
to be fair,
so close.
it was great recognition from Bly. See Sentries and Colossus all right there to latch on to the northern part where the Corruptors can just come in from an angle that Stalkers can't do. It was great recognition from Bly. Immediately realizing his opportunity, and that's what all it takes.
Yeah.
That fungal latching down means that I can latch 2 more fungals. I mean, all your Sentries die, no more force fields.
Exactly. Yeah. But think of it this way, okay? Normally there's brood lords out in the field. There's like mass roaches that are going to surround you. Bly didn't have like an overwhelming mass count He didn't have like so many Zerglings and Hydras and Roaches to deal with that he's just going to be flooded. He didn't have like that big of an Infestor count. He didn't have Broodlords, as I was saying. So Boyo could take all the time in the world he needs to just have the Colossus chug away at those, at those spine crawlers, at the Hydras. They're all food for him. Just protect your Colossus, Boyo. Protect them.
That was more of an Ultralisk impression than a Colossus impression.
No, it's...
Yeah, you went... That's an Ultralisk impression.